Hey, what's up? Things have happened, and I am happy to say I have actually sold on eBay now, and I'm going to explain in this video exactly how I sold and how I shipped my items. Okay, so coming into things that actually help me sell on eBay are things like the fact that I did a whole lot of research. Now, it was all pretty much just YouTube research, but YouTube has a wealth of information on this topic, and it was actually very helpful. And I think watching a lot of different people's videos, because different people think of different things, was something that really helped me. Now, in the beginning, I planned to put up 10 items. I wanted that to be like my minimum. I had pulled aside probably 30 pieces of clothing or something, and I wanted to at least have 10 up there because I thought, like I said, that quantity was important. And I knew also that I should post my 10 and then kind of keep posting more outfits because I sell clothing as time went on. That way I could like fill up my store. However, I think that I really didn't need to start with as many items. I ended up only starting with 5 because that's how many were kind of like ready to go. And I actually was able to sell anyway. And I think that the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that really helped me sell was more just the fact of I started to be consistent. So it's one of those weird things where eBay kind of doesn't trust you until you've been on there for 90 days. It's just kind of how they do things and part of their policy to make sure that it's not a spam account. I hadn't sold anything for a couple of months because I had posted my 5 things and then forgotten about them. But at a certain point, I was like, no, I really need to like get on this. And I just kind of started posting literally one item per week. And I started to notice more traction after that. And I got my first inquiry about one of my items. And even though the person said that they had actually already bought something else before I answered them, it was cool to see that. That's when I started selling things. I started just posting one more thing, and I think the consistency really kind of made me show up in their algorithm more. So quickly, some very simple things that will obviously help things sell better is just having good, clear, bright photos. I noticed there are a lot of random photos on eBay that are dark, and I don't understand why. Just take the photos in the daytime. Anyway, and then another thing that I noticed is that you want to have good, honest descriptions. If the item is sort of damaged, then mention that, take photos of it, and people will still maybe buy it anyway because they just want to know what exactly is the deal with the item. And another thing is to make sure that there aren't too many personal things. People don't need to know really the history behind the item. It can pretty much just be something simple like this is the item, this is the fabric it's made out of, and these are the measurements. If it's new and has never been worn, then that's definitely a selling point to mention. But anything other than that, I don't think there needs to be too much like personal information. And pricing, I've noticed a lot of people said this online, and it was definitely true, that pricing too high or too low can be a problem. So obviously everyone knows that an item that's way too high will be not able to sell probably, but also items that are too low kind of make people think there's something wrong with it. So that's something to avoid as well. And what I kind of do is I look at similar items and then I go to the most expensive one and I price my item just below that. Now, there's room for error in that because some people put ridiculous prices on their stuff. But for the most part, if everything's sort of in the ballpark, I like to just kind of go under the highest price. And obviously it depends on the condition of the goods. If it's new, it will be priced higher. And if it's used, then it will be priced a little bit lower. I also prepped all my shipping items before I sold anything, which I realized was absolutely necessary. I thought that I didn't want to be worried running around getting stuff, so that's why I did it. But now I'm seeing that like the window to ship can be very narrow, especially if there's a holiday or a Sunday involved. I bought my bags and I got some USPS like shipping stuff. And I also got my thank you cards ready. That way I could just throw them in, throw the item in, and ship it off all within a day. And another thing that I did, which I just think is a good idea, is to create a separate Instagram account for the eBay account. So I just went ahead and created one. It has nothing to do with my personal profile, but it's another way to get eyes on my item. And yes, some people won't buy through that, but it enables them to just see it and like know that products are coming. I also link my eBay account in the description of the Instagram page for it. And I make sure not to like have any personal stuff on there. It's literally just a page for products. So if people are interested, they can see it. And I usually repost the item a couple of times. So it's not like it has to be posted once and then forgotten about. It can be pushed out a few times with a few different hashtags. Now, doing all of those things helped me sell. Magic. It was, it was a process, but I'm so glad that I managed to sell. And one of the next things that I did, which was so important, was shipping. And it was something that I was very worried about because people don't go into as much detail on the shipping. But yes, I did manage to find some information on that and go forward with it. So shipping on eBay, yeah, it's weird. It's weird like people say it is. It is weird. So for one of the first sales, it is super important to have the shipping process go well. Obviously, I had no track record, so I needed to prove that I could ship and send the item in a decent amount of time, and I did that. So basically, the whole process is I clicked on, let's say, a padded USPS envelope, and it said it was 1060. And I set that as what it was going to ship from. But then when the buyer goes in, they can select maybe a few different kinds of USPS shipping that are kind of different prices. It's kind of up to you whether you go with exactly what they asked for or not. So when I go into the website, it will say buy label on my end. However, there is a checkbox, and I'm able to buy my label with the money they paid for shipping because the buyer has paid for the shipping unless the item was set to seller pays for shipping. And it's weird because eBay gives a discount to the seller. So then it will also say maybe $9 instead of $10.60. So the difference between what the buyer paid for shipping and what the actual cost of shipping is sort of extra profit. I wanted to mention that technically the eBay selling fees kind of eat this type of profit, but at least those extra couple of dollars come out of the shipping instead of my final sale price. But it actually gives leeway just in case something happened and the item needed to be shipped in something slightly larger. That way it can still go ahead and be shipped with the buyer's payment. Otherwise, the seller would have to go ahead and pay the difference. Okay, so I have the package here, and I decided to send it in this flat rate envelope because I know it will fit, obviously. The padded envelopes do cost a little bit more, and since it's small, I don't see any reason to send it in one of those. But I am glad I have this plastic, that way it will protect from like any moisture. And then, like I said, I have my little card here ready to go. Also, I do have a little packing slip, which I can't include because it has an address, but eBay gives you a little packing slip. So I'll just go ahead and slip that directly into the packaging. And I've already printed out my postage, which I will be taping in this area. And I actually cover the entire label in tape. That way it's sort of rainproof because it's winter and it's been a little bit damp this year, even in California. And then after that, I go ahead and drop it off at the post office. And I always go inside to drop it off. I just don't like leaving packages in those kind of exterior boxes. And I would also always recommend getting a tracking label. USPS is really good about that. And that way you know when the package was delivered. And then actually a few days after shipping the item, I always go back and check to make sure that it actually was delivered to the location that I sent it to. So the first two items that I sold were actually a dress and a jacket. I think they're the only two white items that I have like listed. And ironically, they both sold. So I don't know, maybe there's something to that and people want like very clean, good quality, like white colored clothing. I'm not sure, but I was very happy to sell them. And it was also kind of items that I didn't necessarily think would sell as fast as maybe some other items, but hey, I'm still happy with it. So if you'd like more details about my first few steps of listing an item on eBay, then feel free to check out that video. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.